trained, and we would do our patrols. And when we were out to sea, when I have free time, I would train as much as I could on my own. And there's not a whole lot of room on a submarine.
Yeah.
And when you train, you have to be very conscious because everything on the sub is heavy, thick steel. Anything you hit does not make a sound. You make the sound because of the pain that you just went through. So, I would try to tone my training down. And, there would be people, and some people would do calisthenics if they could, or, whatever it is that they did.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome. It's another episode of Whistlekick Martial Arts Radio. And today I'm joined by Jim Pizii. Jim, thanks for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For those of you out there, if you're new to what we do, or you're not, you're probably not. You've probably been around for a while. You probably know why we do what we do. We're here to connect, educate, and entertain the traditional martial artists in the world. Whistlekick exists to support you, whether it's the first day of your journey or you've been training for years and you're, I don't know, you got more stripes on your belt than belt at this point. Maybe it's paperclip together. The point being, we believe martial arts makes people better, brings out the best in us. And that's why we do what we do. Go to whistlekick.com, see all the things that we do, the events. We're here in outside Philadelphia because yesterday was Free Training Day Mid-Atlantic. If you want to know about the events that we do, go to whistlekick.com. Shout out to Jenny and Matt Nather for hosting us here today. And also thank you to our sponsor, Kitaro. I don't know if you're familiar with Kitaro. No. They do some really cool stuff with primarily belts. People know their belt stuff. So if you're watching, you can see they sent me this cool belt bag that it's just, I don't know, just something about putting a belt in a bag I dig. And I understand that that it's more common in Okinawa and Japan to put your belt in something. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But at request, they designed this belt, which you can get on their website. And by the way, WK10, capital letters, WK10, 10% off your first order. It was not Whistlekick, at Kitaro, KATAARO.com. This is the belt I wear now. The black wears through to white on the inside. The white wears through to black on the inside, which is just kind of, my vision of martial arts. A few other people have that belt too, but you can get that. Any of the other belts, they do crazy custom stuff, and they're a proud supporter of the show, and so please consider supporting them. And actually, we're going to connect you with them. They do cool stuff for our guests of the episodes that they sponsor. So Andrew will get you hooked up with them.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds
but
good.
Jim, thanks for being here. And I heard from Andrew that you mentioned another person that's been on the show, Andy Rodriguez, recommended we talk to.
Andy Rodriguez is a good friend of mine. We've been friends for many years, and every once in a while I'll go down and train in his dojo or be there for some, presentation of something, or just train, And he's a good martial artist, good guy.
Yes.
I like his dojo, the way he has it set up, and he just playing good and good all around.
He's got a good heart.
Yes.
I had the chance to talk to him, and then he and Eric came to an event that we did. I think it was the last Free Training Day before it flipped into Martial Summit in New Hampshire, and just had such a blast with him. His wife's great. Just wonderful people.
I was telling them that it was a few weeks back. Andy and his wife Sherry and my wife and I, we went out to dinner. And we did a lot of laughing at dinner. As a matter of fact, I said that I texted him next day. I said, "Well, we a little bit too loud at the dinner, but it was a nice time. They're great people.
Yeah.
So
there's something about the bonds that we can build as martial artists, right? It doesn't always happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
It usually requires hanging out with some people that have been doing it a while, right? We've got the time in, and you're with people that can put the ego down. It's like, we're here to train, hang out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize, hey, wait a second. I don't just like training with you or sparring with you or training under you. I actually like you as a human being too.
Yeah, that's true. And he's one of those people.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, one of the other people that you interview with in the past, which is my dear late friend, we call it Angel Lemus. And he was my Buddha brother for years and years and years. And he was, that was a big part of my journey, of being training with him.
Yeah. How did you meet him?
Well, I was at the time. At the time, I was part of the Sabakan organization, and he was brought in by Tim Rogers, and I saw something there that I saw, this guy is a talented person, and he was hungry for more. Always wanted to, like, okay, we're doing this, but why are we doing this? Okay, where did this come from? And how do we connect the dots? And I got on that same bandwagon with him of trying to say, it's just not us in Shodan Jiryu. It's all the martial arts. There's a connection. Okay. And what is that connection? And he was the person up there on the front who was trying to figure out, what are we doing and why are we doing it and why are we doing it that way? And it was a fun ride, for years. So, and him and I were just friends. Whenever he came to the East Coast, he stayed at my house, and he left this earth too early. So I mean, I was 10 years older than him. I was slightly senior to him, because he came up to the ranks really good. Because these are good. Hey, a person who's good in their skill set and their knowledge, you have to give credit where credit's due.
Right.
So. Anyway, so that was back in the 1980 time frame. Okay. And myself, I started in 1965. Okay, so I started the YMCA.
Yeah.
And it was I was a young teenager, and I was a person. I did surfing, skateboarding, boxing,
okay, so surfing and skateboarding in the 60s. Where were you living?
Here, but I would go down to, I would go down to Seattle City or Ocean City, mostly Seattle, and go surfing and skateboarding.
Was there much skateboarding then?
Oh, it was on a 2x4 and roller skates. Attached to the bottom.
So not a lot of skateboarding going on, because my understanding of that culture at that time was all California.
Yeah. Well, me and some friends. So I was involved in anything. I wrestled, and it was anything that was. Skied. I also snow skied.
Okay.
It was either me against nature or me against another person. And I was never a team sport person, even though I participated. I was more like, if I'm across from you and you get the better of me, well, good for you. Okay. And it's my issue. But if it's a team, you go, well, someone did this on the team, and you go, that's why, maybe that's why we won, or maybe that's why we lost. Okay.
Where did that attitude come from? Was that did you have siblings and you were always rivals, or was it parental pressure?
I don't have a sister, but my good friends we always competed, we tried to wrestle, try to box, and I got together with some of my cousins and did boxing. I was a young kid. And actually, I think boxing, even though I started martial arts, it was just offered to. I just walked into a class, and it was like, okay. And I thought, this is just another one of those things I did. In other words,
had you heard about it?
I saw it at the gym at the YMCA in Westchester.
You observed it.
Yeah, and said, come on in and try it out. And so I would go there, but there wasn't any passion for it. It was just, I'm going to do karate class, and I'm going to go swimming, and then I'm going to go home.
It was another thing that you would do.
Yes, it was just another thing I would do, and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't up here compared to the others. Actually, surfing was way up here. Okay, that was the thing I enjoyed the most, and so I started from there, and then after I graduated from high school, I went right into service. I was in submarine service. Okay.
Did you grow up in a military family?
My father was in World War II, and my uncles, and so I went in and I was in submarines, and first thing I did was I got myself aligned to when I was in submarine school and basic, after basic training, I found a martial arts school. Styles and types didn't mean that much, so I got myself into a Taekwondo school, and I knew it was Taekwondo, but it didn't make that much difference to me. It was out there, learning basic.
You just wanted to train.
I just wanted to train,
Okay.
and then
And where were you stationed?
well, originally I was in Bremerton, Washington when the boat was in the shipyard, and then I moved to the East Coast. I was out of Groton, Connecticut. I was training up there, and then we would do our patrols, and when we were out to sea, when I have free time, I would train as much as I could on my own. And there's not a whole lot of room on a submarine.
Yeah.
So,
I've been on a submarine.
Okay. So for
not for as long as you, but and I remember thinking that, I'm a small person as is. And I think I was probably 12 when I was on, just going, they put how many people on this tube?
Yeah. And when you train, you have to be very conscious because everything on the sub is heavy, thick steel. Anything you hit does not make a sound. You make the sound because of the pain that you just went through. So, I would try to tone my training down. And, there would be people, some people would do calisthenics if they could, or, whatever it is that they did. People play cards or read a book during their off time, doing watch. And then we moved to our boat moved, we operated out of Rota, Spain. And then I got transferred to the West Coast. Actually was out in home port was Hawaii, but the boat was in Guam, and we operated there. So in Hawaii, I continued on a different Taekwondo school. That's because and it was right there, and then the guy that taught was a very talented person, and it was nearby because I was living off base at the time. It was kind of funny because I was the only I'll say Caucasian. Everybody else was Asian. Yeah. But I was a bigger guy, and this guy used to hit me in every class. He punched me, kicked me, and he knocked me down, and I get back up, and he liked me. At first I thought, is he picking on me? No, he was testing me, but he actually liked me because no matter what he did, I got back up, Oh, yeah, I was hurting. But then, again, I had the attitude, okay, I'm going to do this, and when I go back to my apartment, I want to go surfing.
So surfing was still the passion. Martial arts was still at that point a thing you
did. It was moving up.
Okay,
it was moving up. And
what was it about it that it was moving up?
When in the surfing part, it's you against nature, and when in the martial arts part, it was me against a person standing across from me. So I had a human to deal with. And, in surfing, you just have the wave is the wave. It's not out to get you. Yeah. It can get you. It's not out to get you. Whereas the person, if you're doing a kumite and say, oh, sparring, okay. And this person's good, this person's average, and the person's horrible. But, and then that passion started to build. Okay. And by the time I did my 6 years in the service, that went ahead of surfing. Okay. And then I got out and I came back to the East Coast here in the United States, and I continued with another martial arts school just for about 2 years. And then I got tired of the Korean style. Okay. And there were some issues and things that weren't that pleasant, but I got through it. And then
you're being delicate, but sounds like we can sum it up under, is it politics? Are we talking?
Oh, there was politics. Yeah. Yeah. To give you an example, I went to a tournament and
politics.
And politics. Okay.
How did I know? It's like I've had these conversations and experienced this stuff before.
And they had all the top people in this Korean organization, and so I was there, and I was competing in the black belt division and sparring, and I remember after being out there for a couple of minutes, all the points I scored were by hand, nothing by kicking. And they stopped, and the head man came out and said, "Why aren't you kicking?" And I said, "Because I didn't have to." "Well, we want you to kick. This is Korean style." I said, "Well, so now you tell me how to spar." I got irritated by that.
Sure.
And so.
So what year is that?
That would be like 1976. Okay. 77. Okay. 1977.
Yeah. So that lines up with my understanding of the time. I don't know if you've read A Killing Art by Alex Gillis.
I heard of it, but I didn't.
Great book. Alex has been on the show. A lot of the audience has read that book. Fantastic book. But in there, if you know your Taekwondo history, that was during the time where Taekwondo was trying to position itself and spread itself. And if you're out there just punching, they're like, oh man, this looks like karate. We don't want to look like karate.
Yeah.
Right? They're just, you're ruining our plans.
Yeah.
How dare you, Jim?
Well, as it ended up, is I took first place, and I got reprimanded. And the referee of my match for all the matches, he said, I can't control these guys. These guys are telling me how to referee now. And I said, that's not a big deal. So when they came out with the trophies, they took the first place trophy and they walked over to me and they went right to the next guy and they gave him the first place and they gave second place. Then they gave me the third place trophy. So I said, okay, I don't care. So when I left and I went out to the parking lot, in my car, the other two guys came up to me with their trophies and they wanted to exchange the trophies. Then they said, you rightfully won this. I said, you know what?
Good sports.
Yeah. I said, in the great scheme of everything, it's no big deal. I said, keep your trophies.
But it says a lot for the time. I haven't heard that version of that story, but I've heard things like that, some of which on.
Yeah. So then,
the show.
And then after that, my cousin Don Mattioni, he was involved in the Sabercon schools, Okinawa, and at the time it was headed by Zempo Shimabukuro, who's still alive and well in Okinawa, and they had a group run by Walter Daly, who was Dom's sensei, and he said, come down to a dojo, and I found people who could really fight. I said, whoa, these guys, they knew a lot. They knew a lot. And so he said, would you like to join our school? I said, I'm in. Mm. And that was it. And I went into Okinawan martial arts and I learned a lot. Okay. And I learned that they weren't all just kicking, they were kicking, punching, blocking, elbows, you name it. They were doing everything,
Whatever worked.
Yeah. And so I jumped on that in a heartbeat. And before I knew it, I was in the organization. And when I went to their first American meeting, and it was, I was the oddball because everyone else had been a student, and here I was, an outsider came in. I was already established, a black belt in Taekwondo, but I wasn't a black belt in Durstyle. And they said,
"Yeah, how did they treat you with that?" There was tension.
Yes. Actually, they treated me well, which impressed me. Okay, they treated me well, and they were very nice. But they said, but you don't have a black belt in this. I said, okay, well, what do I have to, what do I have to do? And they go, well, these are the katas. You got to learn this. And fine, I'll learn all that. And so they let me wear my black belt, but it wasn't until 2 years later. They said, you're going to test for your black belt, but you got to wear a brown belt to go out and test for your black belt. So I borrowed a brown belt and I went on testing. Then he gave me a black belt. I said, fine. And that was kind of neat. And these individuals, they were very, very nice people. But it was kind of funny because Okinawan, from when I read and did my research, these are whole island people.
Yeah.
Like they're more laid back.
Yeah.
And Japanese are more strict. In two different worlds. So I go, okay, but the person who headed up the North American branch was a Nisi, Japanese American, and his was strict. And the dojo was his way or the highway. His name was Ed Takai. And I go, wait a minute, you trained in Okinawa under Zenryo Shinroku, who's a local person there, a sensei. But I heard he was very gentle, and this guy's
he didn't get the memo.
Yeah. And but he would throw people out of the dojo left and right. He was tough, And
what was he throwing them out for?
Where was he from?
No, why would he throw people out? Or was he literally throwing them?
No, he would tell people to leave.
Okay,
you're 10 minutes late. leave, and he was very strict that way. And he would ask a question, and if he didn't like the answer, he would tell you, be quiet. I'm the teacher, and that's it. And I go, So I lived with that, but he was the only teacher I really had here. Whereas, Zempo was a little bit laid back. He would come and fly into this country, and then I stayed with Takai for years, and it was just getting worse and worse because he was becoming more and more strict. And so if you were he would talk about the organization we had was quite large at the time, and I don't like this guy, this sensei, and they'll say, okay, I'm going to kick him out, but then he kick out all the students with that person. So he was just taking the organization down. They said, maybe if you have an issue with the teacher, maybe we should try to address that issue with that person. Yeah. The students are innocent. They're just, and he didn't want to hear me, and then when
but he didn't kick you out?
No, but he got mad at me a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Because I was.
Because you questioned him.
I questioned a lot of things. Like when we do things, I go, why are we doing it that way? And then he would say, you don't ask questions, just do it. And that part always in the back of my mind, And
that's why you liked Angel, because you found you weren't the only one.
Yes.
Who was looking at it.
Yes, and so when I was met up with Angel and I and this other gentleman, Tim Rogers, we always had we train here, and now we're going back to the hotel, and then we have our conversations, and you go, we were searching we don't think this is the way the Okinawans people are, because we've heard that they're island people. They're like Hawaiian people. They have their own culture. Yeah. The people think, Okinawa and Japan, same thing. No, it's two different cultures, And so I go, where is that? We have we train in Okinawan karate, but we're seeing a Japanese culture, and no offense to anybody that's in the Japanese martial arts. It's just that's not what I was looking for. And that's not what Angel was looking for. And we're looking for people who are more open. And so after many years with that, Angel and Tim Rogers and I, we decided to leave and formed our own organization. We were up in belt ranks and formed our own organization. But Angel was all over the place. He was taking martial arts from different things. He said, Jim, try this out. Get a hold of this guy. And, he hooked me up with James Walters out in California for Tai Chi and Kung Fu, just because there's things you would do when you're starting to connect the dots.
What sort of timing is this? 80s?
That part would be, the part with the Kung Fu was in the past, I'll say 5 years.
Oh, okay. So that's real recent.
Okay. But what it was I was in Seibukan up until 1997. Okay. And then we left. Okay. And we formed our own organization. And then we were trying to build, and it was the three of us, but we had two counselors who studied with Zenryo Shinbrook, with older guys, and one was Walter Daly, and the other one's Larry Hall, and so they would try to say, this is how it was in Okinawa when we trained, And the funny part is sometimes, and Ed Takai trained with Zenryo, but they trained basically at the same time. And I'd be sitting there, and they would say, this is how you do it. I go, no, that's not what that guy says. And that's not that. And then I remember saying to Larry Hall and Walter Daly, I said, were you guys in the dojo at the same time? Yeah. Look what you're doing. And then they got to arguing about what was taught. Well, that was funny. Okay.
It's a big game of telephone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Same stuff, same time, people coming away with different experiences.
Yeah. And I think from that, I gained a better insight that we all don't look at a teacher the same way and what they're explaining and how they convey that message. Yeah. And from that experience, I would always tell my students, I'm not the only person. Go out and search other martial arts and see what they have to. Even if you just go to a presentation or they'll have like a little workshop, because you can gain something from it. Maybe someone can explain something I've been trying to say to you, but you didn't get. Yeah. And they say it in such a special way. Yeah. Now you got it. All I care is that you get it. And it's kind of funny because one of the things that I think Eddie Rodriguez would always compliment me on was I encourage my students to go out and search and say, oh, go out there and, find what,
Where did that come from? Because I would imagine from what you were talking about, you were not raised in that way, especially as you
Yeah.
got into that organization that you left. It's my way or the highway.
But it was my way or the highway in the dojo. But outside the dojo, I'm thinking very much.
Sure, but I'm assuming that was not encouraged.
Yeah, no.
That was you going rogue.
Yes. Okay.
But where did that instinct to go rogue come from?
I guess it was heavily influenced by Angel Amos and Tim Rogers when during the 80s, 1980s, that there's more to this. And this is not what we envision. Yes, there, and for all those people, martial artists, that you can learn certain punch, kicks, blocks, elbows, whatever. They can work in a dojo, but they may not work out in the street. There's two different worlds, know. And so with that, it always, we got into this mindset to look outside, and this person's explains something or does something, you go, I like that. I'm going to borrow that. And I like that. I'm going to borrow that, and, or maybe they explain something about what you're currently doing and the way you're doing it that is more functional. Yeah. Okay. It makes more sense. And so as this journey was going on in Zen Tokukai, John, when we had the seminars, Angel Lemus always led the seminars. And because he was the one out hunting, he goes, oh, I train with this sensei and with the Joe and he would do something. And he picked up things unbelievable, and I go, okay. And, I just sort of followed along with him, but we would discuss things. And it was kind of funny because after Angel had passed away, I got, which was back 2 years plus, I got invited to go up to a dojo up in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, with Jimmy Teller. Jimmy Teller is half Okinawan. Okay. His father's Robert Teller, but Jimmy has his own. Jimmy Teller trained with his family. He comes from a middle class family in Okinawa, and he fits what I always thought about Okinawa. Very, very, casual, easygoing. You could train. There's not that strict, type of thing. And and we would train, and after training, we sit down and get a have a drink or whatever. And it was very, very, and he worked on body mechanics more than he said, you got to train your body to move more natural. And he would say things that back in Seibukan that I learned was complete opposite. He said, you should move in a natural way. And I remember Takai Sensei saying, if you do a kata and it feels comfortable, you're doing it wrong. And I thought, well, why do I want to train something to be uncomfortable in it, And so there was a mixed message, but then I understood what Jimmy did. So I go every Thursday night, I go up to Jimmy Teller's and I train with him, and he has a dojo as part of his house and just a couple students. And that's the way he grew up in, with a small family environment, and it is quite interesting, and I go, well, here's the missing key here I've been looking for, the way he explains things. Now, I turn 73 next month. I can only, I do what I do as much as I can do, but, as you get older, you go, your body gets tired, and it's kind of funny. I get tired at night, but after his class, we're done. I'm wide awake.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I guess it'd be any kind of exercise you do, wouldn't you?
But you're also excited. You're stimulated. If it's just the way you're talking about it, I can tell that it's like your entire martial arts path kind of led you to that. Just the way you're talking about it, it's like, that's what I always thought it was, and you found it, and now it's
Well, one of the things was about I'm going to say 3 years back. Okay, It was several months before Angel passed away. Angel was at my house, and I said, well, I'm going to go to Jimmy Tellers. I want you to meet him. And Jimmy and Angel was there, and he was listening to Jimmy, watching Jimmy train, and we're training. And Angel pulled me to the side. And he goes, "Stay with this guy." That was stuck with me.
Yeah,
because Angel was saying, "I think you found what we as a group of Okinawan martial artists were looking for."
Yeah.
You know, so I said, "Oh, okay,
that's cool."
Yeah, that so.
Can you, because I know that feeling,
Mhm.
and I was very, very fortunate that the school that I was originally raised in was that feeling. I didn't know that until I had contrast training and then re-engaging with those original instructors. But there may be some people out there who don't know that. How would you describe that? How do you describe finding that instructor, that school, that environment that you've always wanted but didn't have?
Describe the feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's a great feeling because I'll tell you what, it's a bittersweet moment. It's the sweet moment is you found it. The bitter part is I'm 72 right now. I wanted to find it when I was 32. and
Would you have appreciated it as much at 32 though?
I think so. I think so. And and sometimes I'm not saying that my training from before was a waste of time. I'm not saying that.
I'm not getting that from what you're saying.
Yeah. Just that I was looking for something and I found it. Okay. And I'm very happy with it. And so I don't think there's anything else that's going to come along that's going to want to take me away from that. However, I am open to go to if someone had a kung fu training session, I would go to it, or my oldest son, he's 40, he does jujitsu, and he said, if you come over, we can work on this or whatever. I go, fine, and I said, you understand, when you get the better part of me, I cheat.
that is very Okinawan. I like it.
And
I'm not suggesting Okinawan cheat. I'm just saying that my upbringing as as someone who's trained with a number of Okinawan martial arts, there's no rules there. It's you got to pinch and bite. You do what you got to do.
That's right. And now, unfortunately, I have a reputation going way back when I was in the Korean style in Taekwondo, and I went through when I was in Seibukan organization and in Zentoku Kai organization today. I'm a groin hitter from the get-go.
You don't wait. You're just, let's do it.
I mean, like I was down at the Andy Rodriguez dojo several weeks ago, and he tells the people, now don't forget, we call it Pizii Sensei hits the groin, so watch yourself. I said, I don't hit the groin. It's just the opportunity comes.
It's just there. You're not going to protect it. I'm going to hit it.
I don't look for it, and sometimes if someone's getting the better part of me, that just comes right out. And that is self-defense from it. That is, and I always was the one, if you get into a self, you're being assaulted or whatever, it becomes fight or flight.
Sure.
And, and as the older I get, the flight part goes out the window. That's what good groin technique will slow things down. I can walk away from this, and,
it stops people. A lot of schools don't, and admittedly, mine is one of them, because we're not putting on big groin protection and everything. Yeah. So there aren't a lot of groin techniques happening in a way that that allow people to get comfortable with them, right? So you sparring and just, even top of the inside of the thigh, and somebody's been training a while, go, whoa, wait a second, hold on, that's against the rules.
Yeah. And there are no rules out in the street.
There are no rules, right?
Yeah. And how I got into that was from a very early age. I would watch boxing. And these guys beat the crap out of each other with their fists. Someone gets a hip low blow and I can stop the fight. I go, well, that's the technique that's important.
Yeah.
And and from that, it comes other things, fingers in the eyes, throat. And sure, there's all the other, the joint locks and all that stuff is kind of neat. But in a real street fight, when you have multiple people, you don't do one thing and then go to this person, come back to that. No,
Quick and dirty.
it has to be very definitive. That is it, And so I look at my martial arts training preparing for that. I am not preparing for a tournament. I'm not, and 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 people say, well, how would you rate yourself as a martial artist? I'm decent. There's people way better than me and people that aren't as good as, and I'm in there somewhere. I see some very talented martial artists and give credit where credit's due. I said, good, good for them. And I always, I've been across some people who I knew were better than me, and I said, well, we'd be friends. I go, you may get the better of me, but you're gonna have to pay a price to get the better of me. Okay, because you're not gonna walk out of there unscathed.
And those are probably the ones you learn the most from.
Yes.
That's the thing that I think in Western culture, we try to create these opportunities where we are in the front of the room, or we're the biggest fish in the pond, or whatever metaphor you want to use. And when it comes to martial arts, I want to be in the back of the room. I want to be wearing the white belt. I want to be the worst in the room because that's where I have the most opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
And the sad part, as I spend more time, is that's less likely to happen. There are fewer opportunities for that.
Yeah.
So I have to hunt them.
Well, and it's kind of funny. When the last time I was down at Andy's Rodriguez dojo, he was running something, and this is your thing. I just get back with the students.
Yeah,
I love it. When I go to Jimmy Teller's place, there's only a total of 3 students. I stand with them. And even though my belt rank is higher than his, I get back in it because I'm there to learn something. That's all I care about. And when you spend a lot of years being up front, after a while you go, I'm gonna get back here, and learn. And it's not beneath, I don't mean any disrespect to my belt rank, but my belt rank and $2 will buy a cup of coffee. I started a long time ago. Yeah.
It is a woefully imperfect way to score what we do, especially if we value the non-combative aspects of what we also do.
Yeah. So, and when I look at, one of the things I remember when I was young in the martial arts, when I say young, I'm going to say my 30s, someone would say, if someone came at you with this, what would you do? And I had an answer. I would do this and this and this. But as I matured, I go, no, I'll do whatever comes out. And now people go, what? I said, I don't know, they say, well, I said, throw something at me.
Yeah.
And they'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And they go, well, no. Because I couldn't tell them.
Where's their weight distribution? Which foot is forward? Which hand is it? Where am I? What's behind me? Who is with me? Right? Yeah. We like, and again, this is my understanding. This is more of a Western thing. We like to have check boxes. We like to say, if this, then that, because it allows it to be. We can move on to the next thing. But the world is shades of gray. It's nuance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me a more specific example. Show me the thing. Okay, that. Okay, now do that one again. Oh, you've done it a little differently. I'm going to respond completely differently because that's what's appropriate.
Yeah. You're going to, the same move can come at you 5 times and you may react differently all 5, different times. And it's not beneath me when it comes to self-defense. I can take a rock and hit someone inside the head. If that works in the self-defense, if I'm being mugged or whatever, or trying to get in my car or someone shot, that works, It's not beneath me.
Right. No, it's, if the goal is to go home.
Yes.
And there are no rules.
Yes.
And the rock is there.
Yeah.
Use the rock.
Yeah.
Why break your hand if there's a rock there?
And then I get today is like people say, well, what do you think about the martial arts today? It's all over the place today, And sometimes I see videos on Facebook and I'm looking and go, well, if that's important to them, fine. I don't get anything from it. Uh, like training with any kind of weapons today. Some of the weapons I see demonstrations, I go, it's a demonstration of what they can technically do,
Yeah.
But it's not a practical, real life, use of the weapon.
No.
I seen people swing a bow or twirl a bow. It looks like it's for power, going so fast and it's shiny metal. I go, well, okay. I mean, they look like a majorette on steroids.
Yeah. But just as, I'm not going to do a jump spinning crescent kick in a confrontation, but as I get better at doing that, doing a roundhouse kick's pretty trivial.
Yeah.
Right. And most of, I'm not going to say all, but the majority of the folks who do the fancy also do the basic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there was a time I was doing a lot of jumping techniques,
They're fun.
They were fun to do, and they keep you better in shape and stuff like that. So there's nothing wrong with that, And so people say, "Well, you don't do it." I said, "Well, if I'm between my car and another car, and someone's trying to steal my wallet, where am I going to jump to?" There's no place to go. You got curbs, you got And as a matter of fact, today when I train my students, we train at my house. I've given up the dojo back in 2017. I train at my house, but we go into my garage or we go outside, and we'll be on we wear shoes. There's a different world for people who are in a dojo on a smooth wooden floor, And I remember back in my earlier days in Okinawa karate, when they would do an akata, they sort of slide up to do a move, and I'm thinking, I don't know. We slide up because we can.
Mm-hmm.
Put on sneakers, you go outside and not slide.
If you're assaulted, you're probably wearing shoes.
Yes, that's right. So I would look at that's the kind of questions I would get back, and I would talk to like Angel and Tim Rogers about these, yeah, that works at a dojo, and I stress to my students, your training here is good, but you have to sort of expand upon your training here. Think of the practical aspects of what you're doing. I said, but a lot of you have quite a few years here now with me being on sneakers, wearing sneakers, and that's more real world, and with some, like they talk about sometimes rooting your stances and stuff, and I'm sure you've been through that. Yeah, well, root your stances in sand, loose sand.
It's a different world.
Yeah, try to take off from sand, and
my favorite, because I've lived in New England my whole life, training on uneven ground.
Oh yeah.
How about a slant? How about a 20-degree slope?
Yeah,
that's a whole different experience. You do a takedown on somebody, they might go for a little while.
Yeah, that's true. Matter of fact, I was talking about a movie. I think it was called Excalibur, where there's a fight scene where they're wearing armor, and they take it down to a stream, and it's shallow. And in the fight scene, both people stop and they take off their helmets to breathe. From what I read, that wasn't supposed to be. These were actors who said they couldn't breathe wearing all this stuff because that was a real world situation, And when today in the martial arts, when you go to a demonstration, that is what it's supposed to be. Look what we can do. Mm-hmm. Fine, okay, and I appreciate that. I mean, when you see, that took some skill set to do this, and the timing and stuff like that. And I'm not into, and if I step on anyone's toes, I don't mean to. The martial arts, it comes up under martial arts, where they move people without touching, I don't know. I've never seen anyone do that for real, but if it exists, fine. But I've never, if someone went like this to me,
I don't know how to do it.
Yeah. So, but I see a lot of it, and it's almost like students are in a cult.
There's this weird thing that happens with the way people post videos. Nobody's ever going to post a video of someone just being a good, solid martial artist doing a form or sparring, pretty well. Mm-hmm. You get the best, and you get whatever people think is the other end of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Because the stuff in the middle, the stuff where I am, where it sounds like you were, where you would put yourself, you only watch so much of that.
Yeah. Well, I watched an interview with a fight coordinator for movies in Hollywood, and I don't know if the guy was Chinese or not, but he seemed to be a very knowledgeable and talented person, and what he was saying reminds me of when people do demonstrations in front of audience, martial arts demonstrations. He says in the fight scene, you're playing to a camera.
Right.
You have to present them something that they can see. And he said,
Yeah.
real situation, most likely no one's going to see it. It happened so fast,
Yeah.
and no one saw it. That doesn't make for a good presentation.
Yeah. You know who Michael Jai White is?
Yes.
So I've heard him, fortunate enough to share a little bit of lineage with him, and heard him talk about his first movie. And so he's out there, in his mind, doing the absolute best he can, as hard and as fast as he can make his techniques, and you couldn't see them on camera.
Yeah.
He went too fast. It didn't work. And that stuck with me because it's martial arts is applicable to the context that it's in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Competition versus sparring is different versus a demonstration versus a movie versus how I might teach someone who's been training for a while versus how I might teach someone on their first day.
Yeah.
It's all, it might all come from the same body of knowledge, but I got to implement it differently. And that's turned some wheels for a while in the back of my head.
Well, yeah, I used to do some demonstrations in my earlier days, and I don't get involved anymore because, like, when I train in kata, I do it in the mornings. I go to the YMCA and I go in the gym and I train in my katas and stuff, and it's just for me.
Yeah.
That's all I do it for. Is for me. Yeah. But I share whatever I work with my students, and I'll go up to Jimmy Teller's house and I'll train with him and try and share if a sharing opportunity comes up to. And he'll question about. I'll say, well, he'll hit me with tough questions. Why do you do it that way? Okay, and I see where he's coming from. He'll talk about, are you that comfortable in doing it, or is this something you train yourself to be comfortable in? And I go, wow, okay. He has some really different approach. And I like that, and. Because in real life, we can walk outside and be a bunch of people. If we're going to do whatever we got to do, and it will not look like what we do in the dojo.
No, it is always ugly.
Yeah.
I don't like watching the videos of actual fights. Like they kind of hurt my soul. But I see them.
Yeah.
And it's ugly. It doesn't matter how long you've been training. It's ugly.
Yeah.
Because the other person's not waiting for you to cue them, stepping in and punching cleanly at your center one.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times a template may be a kata may be just a template to work with, and I understand this. And when you get people who are doing the same kata from different backgrounds, and they go, well, this person has this movement and this person doesn't. Which one's the real one? Well, who knows? Like whoever.
I think that's the wrong question.
Yeah, it's like. Whoever put this thing together back 150 years ago or 200 years ago, well, they're gone.
Yeah.
Okay. So that kata could be taught, retaught, modified, and it works us up to today. And this person looks like this, and this person looks like that. It's the value you get out of those moves, the individual. Yeah. That's what counts.
I look at that. You've probably seen, as I have, the videos of the side by side. Here's Seisan from a few different styles. To me, the value in, this move is different here. It's the contrast. Okay, what can I learn from the fact that it's this here and this here? Especially if maybe the lead-in move is the same. Okay, now there's a different way to implement, different way to respond. When we look at that application, I find that fascinating.
I like the connections. Like when I was training with James Walters out via Zoom. I would do moves that were kung fu, and I go, oh, this is very similar to it in this kata. Because a lot of Okinawan karate came from China. It worked its way across, and you see the influence. I like that. That's it's not like this is one color and this is another color, and the two don't blend. It's all the same thing. And this is where I think the part of martial arts I really like is, you know, the commonality of moves, whether it comes from the Korean style or Chinese or, you know, heck, Savate. Was that French?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And you look and you go, okay, there's some commonality there. And I like that. And I go, well, if it's here, there, there, and there, it must be pretty decent.
Right.
Yeah. And so here I am today at, training at an older age. And people go, why? Well, if you stop, you will stop. Okay. And I have a lot of old friends that are my age who don't do anything, and they find what I do kind of foolish. I don't know why, but they can't do.
Because they can't do it,
Yeah.
so they dismiss it.
Yeah. So I go, okay.
But I bet you're healthier.
Yeah.
You enjoy your life better. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. And like today, the two basic things. I do three things in my workouts. I do some weight training, okay, and I do my martial arts, and I also, which people find kind of unusual too, is I compete in with the in track with javelin throwing.
Oh, cool!
And I started that some years ago, and this is pretty cool because I always had a decent arm to throw. So now I go to meets. And
was that a new skill for you?
I did in high school.
Okay.
Then I stopped, and then when my son was in high school, I was in my 60s, early 60s, and when he was in high school, he took up javelin, and I would go to watch him practice. I said, I'm not watching this. I'm going to do it. So I got back into it, and then I aligned myself with a excellent javelin coach who, Dr. Robert Singh. He lives down towards Media, but he was on the 1980 Olympic team.
Cool.
And so he's a great teacher, and I aligned myself with him, and I would go to meets. And when my son and I would go to open meets, well, he's in his division being young. I'm with the older people, but he liked the fact that he's doing something father and son, and I'm just with the older folks. That's all. My last meet was down at in early August down in Maryland for the Maryland Olympics. Okay, the Senior Olympics, and people go, "You still do that?" I go, "Well, yeah, I enjoy it.
Why not?"
Yeah, and for people out there, you got to move, and because if you don't move, well, it's over with.
The thing that I've observed among older folks is when they retire, they tend to go in one of two directions. It's I'm going to relax now, and that sounds really sexy for about 5 minutes to me. They sit on the couch, they do very little, and they don't seem to last long. And then you've got folks who say, I can't wait to retire. I get to do more of the fun stuff that I like to do. And they're picking up, maybe not new skills, but something they hadn't done for a while. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're traveling. They're learning a new language. And they live so much longer. How many people, I bet you know some, who retired and within a year or two they passed away.
That's right.
Because they didn't have purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And I think martial arts can maintain a purpose for us, whether it is we're remaining students because there's always more to learn, or we're passing on our information with it, that's important to us to share with the next generation of martial artists, or figure out how to throw a modern spear as far as we can.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I remember Angel Lemus telling me, we were talking one time, he goes, he would talk to people who think about joining martial arts. He goes, if you go to the gym and exercise, you might as well do an exercise that has a purpose besides your health.
Yeah.
And he goes, so when you're, you can go to the gym and join a class that's aerobic type. You can go and do a martial arts class, and you would learn a skill set while you're getting your exercise. You kill two birds with one stone. So, and I said, yep, you're absolutely right. And so that's where I am today. And people say, when will you stop? I said, probably when I'm dead. Okay. And
it is the most common answer. I basically stopped asking that question.
Yeah.
It usually comes up organically in some way or another. Because why are you going to stop?
Yeah.
If it's still serving you, why would you stop? If eating if eating certain food makes you feel good, you're probably not going to stop. If training makes you feel good, why would you stop?
Yeah. Well, I heard a line from Tom Jones, the singer. He was on some musical uh, show where they'd sing, and someone said, and he sang a song, and someone said, "Oh, you had a great music career." He said, "No, I'm having a great music career."
Yeah.
That was pretty clever. I said, "There you go, Tom."
Yeah.
You know,
It's how was his voice?
excellent.
He's such
and
a
he's in his
classic
80s.
voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Still doing it.
and it's little tidbits like this that sort of support where I am in my life,
Yeah.
And one of the things as a martial artist, and some guys and women have gone through this sometimes. If you're married, marriage life and children it's hard to, but you just got to fit it in. Now I can say this, I can say it kind of in a callous way, but I don't. I remember saying to my first wife, martial arts was here before you and it'll be here after you.
Yep.
Okay. And it's not like I'm at Joe's Bar and Grill out drinking and
Sure.
running around and stuff. And I'm at the dojo. That's what I'm doing.
It's important to you. It was important to you. You're not going to stop doing it because she's there, because it is core to who you are.
Yeah. And when I have my children, they all were involved in martial arts at one point. One is still involved. And my daughter, she was involved at a very early age until she got to about 16, and then it wasn't ladylike, So fine, she stopped. But she's into bodybuilding or something today. Fine, she's doing something. Then my younger son, he did it for many years, and then when he got involved into, I guess, in his high school years, when he was involved in track and field and soccer, there's only so much hours you have, and he had to stop. And he felt bad about telling me. I said, "No, I understand." And then he would say to me, "No, now he's 25 today. He goes, someday I may take it back up." I said, "Fine, it's here," And right now he's working on his career, and he's just has a good job, and he just moved, to North Carolina, and he's getting himself organized, what he's doing in his life. And I said, "Fine," and like I said, my older son, he does jujitsu, and that's kind of neat. And I said, "Look, you're 40 years old, and you're moving, and I've been to some of his competitions. That's funny to watch jujitsu because you're looking on the ground and you don't see too much going on. All of a sudden, you see a tap out, and you go,
it's subtle. It's subtle unless you're on the other side of it.
Yeah, and you go, I didn't see anything, but someone says there's pain,
Yeah.
And I always said if I ever got into a skirmish with a grappler, and they start getting before they get in the better part of me, I'm going to do this and see if they let go, and then I'll make my move. And see if
how conditioned are they to tap? And then you'll kick them in the groin.
Yeah, kick them right in the groin. Well, I don't always kick the groin. I do hit my hands a lot. I'm sure you've been in some of them joint locks where someone's taking it down the ground, and I always had a groin shot was my last dying act. Because I'm on my way down, and this is not going to be pleasant. But maybe take this as I'm going down, and if you're over like this, I'm trying to recover to get up, and
all is fair.
Yeah. So, and I'm just trying to think of this today. What do you call it? Like, I sometimes I get people say, "Oh, well, my child is 5 years old and he's a second-degree black belt." And I go,
"Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. And do I have any pet peeves about martial arts? It's not. I would say this one was people who train to get to a black belt, then they stop. I go, well, that's the beginning that's really when you're learning, it's like you take piano lessons until you can really play well. That's it, I'm done. And so, to me, if you got into it, if you're in a decent school, you reach that special belt rank, and now you can learn, you can absorb more. That's why people that I surround myself with, they can go to a demonstration, they can go to be part of a training session, a totally different organization style, whatever, and get something from it. Okay. because they're at that point, you know. So like just as yourself,
Yeah.
you know, and you can go someplace and go, wow, I want to practice that.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. I want to do it all.
Yeah.
I want to come back 100 times and just learn as much as I can.
Yeah. And wanting to do it all is we all have that, you know,
Yeah.
and as you get older, you go, oh, why couldn't I be at this point back then?
But there'd still be more.
Yeah.
Because you'd understand more and you could see more, right? I mean, there's, to me, the beauty and the frustration of martial arts is that not just that there's more than I'll ever be able to learn.
Yeah.
Or that I can't even try it all, but that the more I learn, the more there is to learn.
Yes.
Right? Not just the more I realize is available, but genuinely, as I understand, okay, this is a punch, the better I get at that punch, the more ways I have to work that punch.
Yeah.
And that is, I mean, I don't know anything else that's like that, right? There's an infinite amount of information I can derive from that punch or that one form. And the more time I spend with it, the more that is almost magically available to me. And it's infinite. And sometimes it hurts my brain. And I say, no, there's no end point here.
Yeah.
Right. This is the beauty. It's that there is no end point, that I can just keep riding this wave and learning more. And I don't know anything else like that.
No, I understand that completely. Back when I was in my 40s, I was hiking in the Poconos, and my early 40s, and I go, man, the top is right there. I'm trying to get to that top, and the top was getting further away as I was climbing, and then finally when I get there, I feel like a sense of accomplishment, only to look out and see higher mountains. If you want to call it Poconos Mountains, taller than this. I go, oh, what the hell?
There's always another.
Yeah. And I watch the videos with podcasts with Neil deGrasse Tyson about the universe.
Oh, those are good. And
then the more you look at, the more that's out there, it's like this thing doesn't end at all. It just goes on and on and on and on and on, you know. And that's how we both agree. That's how the martial arts is. It's just so much, you know. I mean, there could be some guy in a little tiny village in someplace, and he could be doing something that was handed down, and he kept it to him, just his family, and that's it. And you go, wow, that's some good stuff.
Yeah. We'll start to wind down here, but I have these moments, and I bet you still have them. They don't happen often, but you're training with someone. It might be, it could be a peer, it could be a student. Now I have most of them with my students because they're looking at everything I've got through these different eyes. And, one of them will ask the question and I go, oh,
yeah,
I never thought of that in that way. And it gets the wheels turning and I go back and I sit and, maybe I'm writing or maybe I'm just sitting there going, I need to process this for a while. And I've been training a while. Those moments still happen. It makes me so happy to have them because it means I can still make progress. I can still you've got a couple of years on me, but it gives me hope that there's never a point where I will look and say, I can't keep getting better.
Yeah.
The only point where I won't get better is when I'm in the ground.
Yeah.
And up until that point, I have that opportunity. And I think that's so incredible because I don't know anything else that is that.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I don't discount white belts whatsoever. You don't know what they're going to say or do. I mean, you can sit there and stand across from them. And I used to make this example. I said, I can stand across from, another black belt. I can pretty much see some of the moves I know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
You get across the white belt, you don't know what the hell they're going to do. They can trip over their own feet and hit you in the groin on the way down the ground, and they didn't plan on it, but that's what came out. And I said, you have to deal with that. And I find that a good learning experience because they're the closest thing you're going to get to a street person. And I would tell like people who think about the martial arts and versus out in the street. I said a street person doesn't work on defense.
No, they don't.
Theirs is
Their rules of engagement are very different.
yes, and one of the things I said, I think the perfect mugger would be they walk up to someone, they don't say anything, the person hands them the money, and they walk away. That would be the ideal world.
Yeah.
But there's still some people who are very physically aggressive, and they want to do something, and so anyway,
Yeah. You know, you have students. Are you taking students? Like, is there a website if people want to get a hold of you?
No, my students are all basically my students. When in 2017, when I folded school, I had enough black belts and stuff, and I said, look, I'm going to do this, and anybody want to come with me? Fine, I'm going to. And so basically, all my students, everyone there is 50 and above. They've been with me, some have been with me for 35 years, some of them, cool. 40 years, whatever, 25 years. They've been with me for a long time. And I said, I'm here. If you want to come, I have class on this night, come to class, But as far as new students, no, to me, I think new students would have they're looking for a dojo like it's over here, so something, or a shiny wooden floor or something like that. And I don't have that. Yeah. I have a nice poly something, whatever floor in my garage. And it's hard, I do have mats, but I mean, if you fall, it's concrete. It's your body in concrete, and so I tell people don't fall,
So you're working with students you've had for a while, advanced ranks. That's right. Okay.
Yeah. And I like, I don't charge or anything. I said, you just come,
because you need people to work out with, right?
Well, it's not that. It's just that for charging, then it becomes a business and all this kind of stuff. I did all that. I had my own commercial dojo. And there was more headaches, and it's like a lot of the headaches were, utilities issues, here and there, and I tried to, rent out part of my space during the daytime when I had my regular job, and then that wouldn't work because their customers would come and park in places they shouldn't park that I have the lease agreement with, and like, oh, yeah, and you understand all that.
I do understand,
and you go, I don't need that at all.
It is. Running a commercial school is difficult. Running a commercial school well is extremely difficult. Making a commercial school your full-time job, based on the numbers, because people don't talk about this, is incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And, I taught children. Children are great. Sometimes parents of children aren't so great. And I used to say when I was teaching children, 95% of my problems is with 5% of the parents of children.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I said, I can't do this anymore, And, my children is in high academics in school, so that they should be this. And this is not an academic class I'm teaching here, And I remember one time some lady was just so mad at me because her daughter was starting off as a white belt. And I said, she's been here for a month. And she's like 7 years old or 8. And I said, I understand that she does well in her school and academic, and she thought this daughter should be moved up. I said, she didn't even know her left from her right. Boy. And so this woman was really insulted. And I said with the little girl, I said, raise your left hand. She raised her right hand. And the mother saw this and was outraged. I told her, grab the daughter and said, get your stuff, and then he left. I never saw him again. Yep. Sorry.
Because that helps the kid, right? Let's deny the kid an instructor who recognizes a deficiency in their child.
Yeah.
It communicates that deficiency to the parent and is willing to help them progress in their physical body. Let's rob the kid of that. That's a great solution.
Yeah. So anyway,
but it takes all kinds.
Yeah. I appreciate talking to another martial artist because, a lot of times when talking to another martial artist, there's always interruptions. Mm-hmm. I'll go to anything and you're talking to somebody and then this person comes over and then, it's like a chain reaction of the atom is split apart and it keeps on going. And then all of a sudden you go, man, I was just talking about elbow
It was
strikes.
just getting good.
And then all of a sudden it goes into something, now I'm talking about, this restaurant. And
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the restaurant. I want to go back. Let's go back to talking about application.
Yeah. Yeah.
let's talk about how we would use, that centerpiece.
Yeah.
If we were confronted by table 5.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of having the door shut and being in here and getting our time for an hour.
Well, I do appreciate this, and as a matter of fact, I saw this belt here on Andy Rodriguez the other when I was over at the dojo.
Does he have one?
He has a.
He has one.
He has a black and white, and I'm looking at it. He goes, "Look at this belt." And I go, "What the hell is going on here?" And I saw the white, and he was showing me. I said, "Okay, that's pretty cool." And he was wearing a belt, and I just thought that was pretty neat. I said, "Okay, fine."
So Andrew has one as well, and we've got other people in the audience and other folks, on the Whistlekick team that have this, and it is available at Kotaro. Not to keep plugging them, other than they sponsored this episode, so I'm going to keep plugging them. But I have no problem if I'm training. I might turn it on, put it on light side out. And if someone's been training a while, you might not have seen that belt before, but you might notice and go, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Right. And that's what it's meant to symbolize is I know some stuff, but I'm willing to submit to say, I want to know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's black side out, it's saying, I know some stuff, but I don't pretend I know everything. At least that's what it says to me. I'm not going to say necessarily what it means to everyone else. But it's really been something that I've appreciated exists. And then, I mentioned the fact that it wears through to suggest that, part of that submission, that white belt, Shoshin, right? Is that the right term? I'm very tired. Is to suggest that as you submit, as you are white belt for long enough, you do start to learn some stuff. And, it doesn't matter how long that black side is out. There's always more, hence why it wears through.
Well, and I've learned that over the years is not to, when I go to a training seminar, regardless of my belt rank, not to upstage who's ever teaching. Right. So, like, I have a solid red belt. Yeah. Okay. And the ninth belt. And that's what I have. So I don't wear that. I wear my black belt. Yeah. And I just look like anybody else out there, And I can wear that in my community, in Sentoku Kai. I wear that with them, but I don't really wear it outside of that.
Because there are people that if they see that, if they understand what that belt means, and they're in the front of the room, they start to get nervous. And I've had that too. We run some events. We had an event yesterday. We got to make sure we get you to next year's event around here. But we might have some folks that it's their first time teaching a group. Mm-hmm. And we've had events where someone, we don't put a rank. We've had some people who've been training, 3-4 years, and maybe they're not quite black belt. And say, hey, I've got something I'd like to share. Great, you're on the schedule. And people show up, and there might be somebody there who is in your position with a high rank and been training a long time, and they want to learn, and they're open, and you get the person going, and they start freaking out, So, I think it's cool that you dress down.
So I like the idea. You can put on. You can have a black. Just turn. Make a white. I'm here to learn. Yeah.
Well, Jim, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your time. How would you want people to come away from this? How would you close us out today?
Well, never stop searching. Okay, and and don't think that you've reached the top and there's nothing else. There's always something else out there, and don't be afraid to try with an open mind, maybe train with someone else from a different style or different organization, just to see. It may be you might find it, this is trivial or this is boring. You learn something, and then you go to somebody, hey, this is something I never experienced before. So have an open mind for all people. They all have something to contribute. I don't care what it is. They have something to contribute. Okay. And, don't let your ego get in your way of your training. Okay. Don't say you're the best. Don't even think of saying you're the best. You can say, I'm okay. Because there's a lot of people that are very, very good, and It's the ones who don't say too much that can be the scariest. Okay, and so I guess that's the biggest thing is keep searching. Okay, just like Neil deGrasse Tyson about the universe, keep searching. Okay, there's a lot out there. Okay. I didn't mean to quote Mr. or paraphrase Neil deGrasse Tyson, but I do like his podcast.
He's such a good guy. I
Yeah.
don't think he trains, but
Yeah.
I bet he would like training.
Yes.
I bet he would. He'd probably nerd out on the anatomy and physiology
Yeah.
aspects of stuff.
Yeah.